Ask that you all take your seats, please, and we'll begin in about 2 minutes. I'm Verna Jones, Executive Director for the American Legion National Headquarters here in Washington, D.C. I want to thank you all for attending, including members of Congress and representatives from other veteran service organizations. On this beautiful September day here in our nation's capital, many of us have a hearing to attend at 2:30, so we'll move quickly through our speakers. Since we're pressed for time, I ask that the media respect that we're not answering questions today. This conference is to express our support and need for appeals modernization at the Department of Veterans Affairs. We strongly encourage Congress to pass legislation so that our nation's heroes can get the care and support they deserve in a timely manner. We have several speakers here today. Our first speaker is Mr. Gary Augustine, Executive Director of the Disabled Veterans of America, and his remarks represent the Big Six congressionally chartered veteran service organizations in this country. Gary?
Thank you, Verna. Severe illness or injury suffered while in the service of this country. That's what this issue boils down to. Nearly 1.5 million American veterans are waiting years to get the health care and benefits they have earned, while VA continues to fall further and further behind trying to process disability claims appeals. Congress, recognizing the increasing dangers of a growing appeals backlog, charged VA with addressing the issue and asked them to come up with a solution. On behalf of the American Legion, Disabled American Veterans, Veterans of Foreign Wars, Paralyzed Veterans of America, Vietnam Veterans of America, and American veterans all around the world, and the bipartisan bicameral lawmakers here today, thank you for attending this vitally important press conference. Together, with our VSO partners, nonprofit organizations, network of county and state veteran service officers, we all have worked intensively with VA as well as the House Senate committees on Veterans Affairs to come up with a solution to streamline and modernize the outdated and struggling appeals system that has not been updated in over 40 years. Every year, VSOs represent thousands of veterans and their families before the Board of Veterans Appeals. And on average, our efforts result in more than 70% of these appeals being correctly overturned or reconsidered due to critically missing information. Thousands of veterans are dying while waiting for their appeals to be decided, and in 2012, nearly 15,000 veterans died before VA was able to settle their case. That is almost 15,000 families who will never see a dime of any of the back pay these veterans were denied. This is more than just about compensation. This is about access to health care and recognition of injuries and illnesses sustained or aggravated while defending this nation. I, along with the other VSOs and United States military veterans around the globe, strongly urge Congress to pass appeals modernization now. Verna?
It's my pleasure now to introduce members of Congress who are present here today. Please be mindful of the time. I now ask for Senator Tester to come to the podium, who will be followed by Senator Blumenthal, Representative Titus, Senator King, Representative Bilirakis, Representative Abraham, Representative Custer, Representative Zinke, and Representative Worlorski. Once Representative Worlorski has finished her remarks, the press conference will be concluded. If you have questions, please work with the lawmakers and their staff immediately following this press conference. Questions for the individual VSOs should be directed at each organization's communications or media manager. Thank you all for coming. Senator Tester.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank the American Legion. I appreciate their efforts in organizing this event. And Gary, thank you for your comments. I think they're spot on. Special thanks to Ranking Member Blumenthal, the Senate Veteran Affairs Committee, and his hard work and leadership fighting for our nation's veterans. Look, he and I both know, you all know, the disability appeals process is broken. I hear it from Montanans every day. Every member of my staff deals with this issue almost every day. In fact, one of my constituents from Miles City, Montana, has been waiting for 4 years. That's a bit too long, and quite frankly, that's crazy. 10% of my entire caseload deals with the appeals process. I mean, I'm telling you, it's broken. It needs to be fixed. We have veterans call my office all the time. It should not take the actions of a United States senator for a veteran to get the benefits that they've earned. And quite frankly, more and more problems are arising, and that is why I'm proud to join Ranking Member Blumenthal in the introduction of the VA Appeals Modernization Act. I am going to be quick. This bill will cut red tape and, quite frankly, allow the VA to do their job and do it more efficiently. Along with this bill, we have a Veterans First Act that we should have already been dealt with. It came out, as you guys know, 125 days ago it came out. And that bill will help get more docs on the ground, will help get more benefits managers and appeals folks working within our VA. The bottom line is that our veterans need us to do our job. They did their job. And quite frankly, enough is enough. We need to, hopefully you guys can help us turn the heat up. We've got a bipartisan group here to make sure that these bills get across the finish line in a timely manner. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Senator Blumenthal. Thank you all very much for being here.
Thanks, Senator Tester. You know, the veterans of America have no better friend in the United States Senate, in the Congress, in fact, than John Tester, and his leadership has been so extraordinarily valuable. I thank him for the kind of courage and vision that he brings to Veterans Affairs. So thank you, John, for coming, and thanks for your support for this measure and for Veterans First. He's absolutely right. We want to push veterans first. But here is a measure that ought to be adopted standalone right away, no questions asked. The president's for it, the VA secretary's for it, the VSOs are for it, the veterans of America are for it, and our veterans deserve it. You're absolutely right, Garrett. This is not just about money, but it's also not just about health care. It's about simple justice. An appeals process that delays justice also denies it. The veterans age, they get sicker, they can't work, they go from near poverty over the edge. That's on us. That's not their doing, that's on us. These veterans benefits are not a handout. They're not a hand up. They're what veterans have earned. And for the United States government to delay providing what our veterans have earned is a betrayal of trust. This system is not just broken, it is a betrayal. And we need to make every member of this Congress feel in his or her bones and heart and soul that we must do our job on this bill. I know my colleague, Senator Isaacson, is for appeals reform. He hasn't supported this bill yet, but I've talked to him about it. I know his heart is in the right place. And I have moved forward with this bill now because I think we need to move something and begin this conversation and advance it, not just in talk, but in action. I want to say a particular thanks to the VSOs, who are really the gold standard in terms of representing their members. For them to be behind this bill is profoundly important. And so my thanks to you on behalf of the 450,000 veterans who have appeals pending. 80,000 have appeals that are older than 5 years. By 2027, that number will grow to 2.17 million unless we make this change. And every one of those numbers, you know, this place is filled with numbers. People love numbers. I could make up numbers here and no one would question me. But those are real numbers, and behind them are real people. They are people who have served and sacrificed for our nation. We owe them better, and we will do better because we have a great bipartisan group, and we're going to make it even bigger and better, and we're going to get this job done. And with that, I want to introduce Representative Titus, who is here, and very much appreciate your support, and she will be followed by Senator King of Maine.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you very much, and thank you to the American Legion for having this event and helping us put a stamp on the need to get this passed and to pass it now. I want to thank our senators for being here with the companion bill on their side, and my colleagues, many from the House Veterans Committee, who have been working on this issue. When I first became the ranking member of the Subcommittee on Disability, the big issue was a backlog for original claims. As we brought that down, worked hard with all of you in this room, with the VA and the Congress to reduce that backlog, there was a corresponding increase in the backlog for appeals. We saw it coming, we knew it was going to be a problem, and indeed it is. You heard the senator say there are about 450,000 people waiting for their claims to be adjudicated. It takes about 2,000 days for that appeal to be considered, and if we don't act now, those numbers will just increase. In fact, we think by 2027, we'll be telling our veteran constituents you may have to wait a decade before your appeal can be decided. That's just unacceptable, and that's why it's so important that we modernize this system now. First created in the 30s, then revised in the 80s. It is out of date and it is overcomplicated. We need to simplify it, we need to protect individual rights, and we need to give some options. We've worked very hard with you. We thank you so much for your input. Other VSOs, the VA, the committee staff, David Rosenbaum from my office, Justin on our staff with the committee, to come with a bill that does just those things. Supported bipartisan, supported by the president. Pass it now and get it done. We don't need bad politics. We need good policy. Our veterans deserve no less, and I'm determined you have my commitment to see that we get the job done. So thank you very much for your help. And now I will turn it over to Senator King. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Angus King from the state of Maine, where we have one of the highest percentage of veterans in the country. We're a small state, but a very high percentage. I was at the Windsor Fair a few weeks ago and talking with a group of veterans about how we thank our veterans. Flashback just 2 nights ago, and I was out at the football stadium for the game, and there's all kinds of veterans introduced at halftime and flags on the Jumbotron and jet planes flying over. But that's talk. What we really need is action. And here is a concrete case where we can make a difference, where we can change something that's just flat wrong and that everybody knows is wrong. It just doesn't make sense to have the level of obligation that we have to our veterans and to have them literally tied up in red tape. To have these delays of 1, 2, 3, 4 years. There's an old saying in the law, justice delayed is justice denied. And in this case, it's true because sometimes people die while waiting for something that they've earned, that their country has promised them. And so this is an opportunity, and in all the swirl of activities around here, and all the partisanship and the maneuvering and election year and everything else, here's something where you have people from both houses, all the parties involved, and let's get it done. I just don't see any reason why we can't, particularly with your support. And as Senator Tester said, we'll turn up the heat on our colleagues, and we ought to be able to do this. It is something that is just, this is of the essence of what the government should do. And I have an old saying, which is execution is as important as vision. You can have a glorious vision of support for veterans through the Veterans Administration. President Lincoln said, to care for he who have borne the battle and his widow and his orphan. That's the vision. But if the execution doesn't work, if the wait times are so long, if the applications are burdensome, if you forget to sign one page and have to start over, those kinds of things are just unacceptable. And we have it in our power this week or next week or certainly before the end of the year to fix this. And I certainly hope we will. And I'm delighted to be here with my wonderful colleagues from both the Senate and the House. And you've got some folks that are absolutely committed to making this happen. Thank you. Senator Daines. Thank you.
I'm Senator Steve Daines from the state of Montana, and you'll note that we've had Senator Tester, Senator Daines, and we have Congressman Zinke as well. That's the entire Montana delegation, by the way. So we have one at-large member and, of course, 2 senators. But let me say this. We have one of the highest per capita vet populations in Montana in the United States. We're typically in the top 3. Of my staff I have across both Washington, D.C. and Montana, 8 of my staff are veterans. And we hire a lot of veterans, 1, because they understand service. They understand sacrifice. But 2, there's no better way to help a veteran than have another veteran helping a veteran. And as been stated already earlier, we are fighting a system that's broken, a system that is bureaucratic, a system that delays justice in this appeals process. So we have a lot of my veterans that work on my team, thankfully, love having my vets. They spend too much time to fight a broken bureaucracy. But we will keep spending that amount of time on the behalf of getting justice for our veterans in this appeal process. But I think what's already needs to be said has been said, so I won't elaborate any further, other than I'm grateful that we've had our entire Montana delegation here. Montana demonstrates bipartisan and bicameral here today, and the whole delegation here standing with our veterans. And I'm honored to serve with Senator Tester. I'm honored to serve with Congressman Ryan Zinke, the first Navy SEAL ever elected to the United States Congress, who will make remarks here in a moment. But prior to Congressman Zinke speaking, I'm honored to turn this over to Representative Radewagen from American Samoa. So, Congressman Radewagen, please.
Thank you, Senator Daines. It is long past due that Congress passes appeals modernization for our veterans. As we've discovered over the past few years, the VA has an unacceptable wait time for our veterans who have submitted an appeal and are awaiting a decision from the VA. I simply urge my colleagues in both the House and Senate to support Chairman Miller's bill, H.R. 5620, and get it to the President's desk as quickly as possible. As a co-sponsor of this bill, I know that this legislation will do a great deal in solving this long outstanding issue. Our vets have done their duty, and it is past time we do ours. Let's pass this bill and better serve those who served for us. Thank you. God bless America and American Samoa. And now I'd like to turn you over to my dear friend, Congressman Ryan Zinke.
I can tell you it was a lot easier being a SEAL commander than as a congressman. But, you know, from a veteran's perspective, One is we're not victims. When we pledge to give an oath to defend our Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, it doesn't end when we take off the uniform. It's a lifetime of journey of service, commitment. And Congress can get something done. This is a bipartisan effort to look at what's wrong. And we all see the same frustration with the VA. I knew General Shinseki. I know Secretary McDonald. And there are some cultural problems that need to be addressed. This bill goes a long ways to helping in two areas. One, accountability. As a commander, you got to hold your people accountable, always. And secondly, the appeals process. There has to be certainty. There has to be a process beginning and a process end, and it needs to be fair and transparent. And when it's not fair or transparent, or it goes forever, you know what? It's not right. Veterans, we're not numbers. We're faces. And every veteran has a record. Every veteran has a service jacket, and every veteran deserves what's right. So I'm proud to be here. It's going to pass the House, just the numbers of what it is, but it'll pass the House. I'm fairly confident that both bodies will move this forward, and I'm confident the President will do the right thing by signing it. But thank you, veterans in the audience, and thanks for your veterans' families on this. And I appreciate you coming to Washington, D.C., because it makes a difference. You know, when you look at what's out there in the country and the frustration we feel as veterans, when veterans show up in Washington, D.C. and pound on Congress's door, as we should, it makes a difference. So thank you, and God bless.
Hey guys, I'm Ralph Abraham from Louisiana, and again, just to follow up with Commander Zinke's comments, you know, thanks for everything you have done, but thanks for everything you do. And it does matter when you're up on the Hill and moving your cause forward, because if we don't hear from you, then we don't know. We look to you for leadership in your expertise area, so we appreciate you a lot. And as every speaker, I'm sure, will tell you, the appeals claim process for disability claims is broken. We're going to fix it. This bill, this 5620 that will be voted on today, will go a long way, or at least some way, to bridging that gap between good and the bad that we're experiencing now with the long wait lines. You know, I'm a family physician. I treat veterans, so I see what disability does not only to the patient, but to the patient's family. You know, the old saying, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to surround a veteran and support him or her in their endeavor, especially when they are having to deal with a disability, that we as Congress should help do that. So know that, like Commander Zinke said, this bill will pass on the House side, and I feel confident it'll pass on the Senate side too. We want to help. I'm chairman of the subcommittee on disability assistance. So, you know, it falls certainly the burden on me and the rest of Congress to get this done. So we want to get it done. We want to get you guys as whole as we can when you have a disability, and get you back in the ring, get you back in the arena. That's where you want to be. That's what you've done as servicemen and women, and that's where you want to be now. So our job is to help facilitate that. So thank you very much.
Hi, good afternoon. Congresswoman Annie Custer from New Hampshire. And you may have heard this before, but this is actually a remarkable gathering in that it's so bipartisan. So my colleagues from both sides of the aisle coming together. I serve with Representative Abraham on the House Veterans Affairs Committee. He and I actually traveled together to Afghanistan last Thanksgiving to be with our troops. And it's a committee that works very, very well together, and particularly on this issue that we all feel so strongly about. So I just want to thank the hard work of my colleague, Representative Dina Titus, and for all the VSOs that are with us. Thank you for the hard work that your leadership and your rank and file have done to make sure that we could craft a really effective appeals modernization process. My family and I lived through this. My dad was a World War II veteran. He flew 73 combat missions in World War II and was shot down in the Battle of the Bulge and was a POW. But my father-in-law also served in World War II. He was on the front line communications and was going in on the beaches and ahead of the troops. And he had a lot of issues over time. We didn't have a word for PTSD, but he certainly had some challenges in his personal life. He also had hearing issues, as he said, deaf as a post, but don't they always say it's the side that the rifle's on, right? And just some difficult, challenging health issues at the end of his life. And my husband worked for an entire year, you're familiar with this, to get him into our veterans home. I feel like everybody lost their records in that fire. You know, we were one of the families that was told the records were lost in the fire, so we had to recreate. And it actually got us much more involved in the history of his service, and we take a great deal of pride in both of them. Once he was able to get into our veterans home, he got extraordinary service. And I cannot speak highly enough of the people who worked with him. He'd had a stroke. He couldn't speak. For 3 years, they got him talking again. They got him walking again. And before he passed, and they even took care of him right to the end, right when he passed. They wanted to make sure he wouldn't be alone. And we were there as much as we could, but there were periods of stretches during the day, and they would always have someone in his room with him. So I really want to thank the people who do work so hard to provide the high quality of care. But let's make sure that the families don't have to struggle with the paperwork for an hour just to get their loved ones the care that they have worked so hard and that they deserve. So I look forward to working with you, get this passed in the House and the Senate, get it off to the President, and let's try to bring some relief to our veterans and their families. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you so very much. Congressman Gus Bilirakis from the state of Florida, the Tampa Bay area, and I will tell you that veterans are my top priority in the United States Congress. I say that in front of every crowd because it's so very important that we recognize our true American heroes. I also want to thank you for helping me with the COVER Act and the Promise Act. We passed that this past summer. I couldn't do it without you, and that has to do with, as you know, mental health issues, PTS, TBI, bringing in the alternative therapies that work, because I've heard from you. And that's where I get my best ideas from our veterans, very close to the veteran community, as was my father, Congressman Mike Bilirakis. This issue is so very important. The House bill we'll vote on today, the VA Accountability First and Appeals Modernization Act. In January 2015, there were approximately 375,000 appeals pending. Really inexcusable. Despite an increase in funding, year after year, the number of pending appeals increased by 82,000 within 18 months, raising the total number to 457,000. Inexcusable. As a matter of fact, there was a veteran almost on a daily basis, we have this issue. Veterans call our office. But a veteran yesterday from my congressional district has been waiting. He got in touch with us. He's been waiting for 6.5 years. Just too long. These are true heroes, ladies and gentlemen, and we can't let them down. Simply throwing money at the matter is not going to work. We should fully fund, obviously, the VA. Very much in favor of that. But again, the VA has to do its job. We have a responsibility to find viable solutions that ensures a better return on investment with taxpayer dollars. That's why this bill must pass today. Veterans throughout this country have waited for too long on their disability claims. We must do better, and we can do better to honor their commitment and service to our great nation. Passage of this bill before us today is a step in the right direction and sends a message that we remain committed to those that proudly serve. We must ensure decisions are made in a timely manner and that our veterans receive the compensation to which they are due. I look forward to passage of this bill, and I look forward to working with you on many issues affecting our true American heroes. Again, I serve on the Energy and Commerce Committee, but VA is number one to me. And please don't ever hesitate to contact me. Again, I go to the VFWs, the American Legions, all the DAV, all the VSOs, and y'all do a wonderful job. So let's get this done for our heroes. Thank you so very much. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
That concludes our press conference. Thank you so much for coming. Please pass Appeals Modernization now.